7:14, Steve at 10 in the morning here on 98.7 and 1330 KNSS. And U.S. Representative Ron Estes in the studio this morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
From the 4th District here in Kansas.
Oh, excellent. So
we're back in the district. Yeah. Things are going well. And you heard him talking about the weather. You know, it was on this date in 1999. Hayesville got hit by the tornado down there. Huh.
Yeah, it's that time of year when the spring weather changes and starts to warm up. The sun warms the ground up, and so just got to be alert for that.
Well, you know, and we've been talking about this a lot, and I know your people in part of your district are concerned about the fact that we need some rain around here. I mean, we've been in a drought for years now, it seems.
Yeah, we really do. It's last summer was particularly bad. We had over 120 days in Wichita where no rain. And, part of west of here, it's even worse in terms of how dry it is.
If nothing else, we depend on those crops for people making a living and doing some trading. So, hey, listen, of course, the big story right now is that deadline of the debt limits and all that. And, you know, as I've watched this, as just as a news person watching this, and the president saying, "Well, I'm not going to compromise," and the Republicans say, "Well, we've got something on this table," and I don't think the president's ever going to say, "I'm going to compromise now." You'll wait until you get him in the chair, and you know how negotiations go.
That's right. And, well, at least he's doing something now. You know, it's been 91 days since he last met with Speaker McCarthy and hadn't done anything. So now they've scheduled the meeting again. It's next week, so it's going to take another 6 days now before they get together. We did our work in the House. We passed a bill that addresses the debt ceiling, but it also addresses the root cause of the problem, which is overspending. I mean, it's kind of like the federal government. If you think about it from a personal family, is if you make $48,000, but you spend $63,000 a year, that's kind of where the federal government's going. We're spending one out of every $5 we spend is borrowed. So we've got to address the overspending. Otherwise, we'll be in the exact same situation with the debt limit in a year.
I've watched this over the years, and a lot of times we're going to reduce spending. What they may say is, we're reducing the increase we're spending.
That's true. Yeah, we're getting pummeled in the media about cutting spending when in reality we're saying, well, we'll increase it 1 or 2% instead of increasing it 6% and getting criticized for that.
We have seen it though in our lifetime. When for a couple of years there were some people out back there in Washington who got together and actually stopped the flow for a little bit there. For a couple of years we had it. I didn't think I'd ever see it in my lifetime.
Yeah,
we can get there again sometime, can we?
And that was back when it was only a few $100 billion in debt, as opposed to $31 trillion.
Yes. Well, it's how much do you include Social Security in there as well?
Yeah. Well, I don't know that
it gets a little complicated then.
It does get complicated because it's a longer period of time. But we can fix Social Security. I mean, we did the process in the 1980s and extended the life of Social Security till the 2030s now. We can come back and do something similar along those lines. That's one of the things that literally just takes the political will to do that and sit down and to talk about the right facts. I mean, sometimes it gets demagogued and it's treated as a political tool to talk about and criticize the other political party. And that's one of the things that we just need to sit down and let's talk about the truth, let's talk about the facts, and then let's go make good common sense decisions.
Interesting, amazing, tragic things happening on that southern border. And I'm just, I was thinking about that today. Why don't we just create a militarized zone down there and create about 14 forts and put all those troops down there and just stop it.
But part of the problem goes back to, President Biden won't say don't come. I mean, in fact, the administration's famous for saying, we're not saying don't come. We're just saying we didn't want you to come, 2 years ago when they were talking. And they're feeding, again, a lot of misinformation coming out of the White House, when they said that, there's been a 90% drop in people coming. Well, they walked that back by saying, well, we meant these 4 countries out of the 170. In reality, it's increased from 78,000 people crossing the border during Biden's first month, and 191,000 people crossed the border illegally.
Ted, what was that figure we had? Was it yesterday? Fox News was saying that they did a poll and only about 5% of the people in this country even think that's a big deal. The electorate, those are the...
Yeah. I'm not sure the public that's not
even-
living in Brownsville, Texas,
That's
has it as one of their top priorities.
All right.
Yeah, and I guess I hadn't seen that poll. The actual security had been a bigger issue for an ongoing period of time, and particularly when you're seeing some of the violence, you're seeing things. We're seeing terrorists coming across the border. We're seeing more gang members coming across the border. We're seeing much more fentanyl coming across the border, which is it's killing almost 300 people a day in the United
That's
States.
the scary one. That fentanyl.
And you know, if that's about the same as an airplane crashing every day, and if an airplane crashed every day, the president would do something about it instead of let it happen.
You got a pretty good ratings from the conservative organization. Tell me about that.
Yeah, really did. The CPAC, the American Conservative Union, and their affiliate CPAC rated me as a 97% on my votes for fiscal conservative responsibility, which is important. I mean, I try to go represent the district and address some of the issues. Obviously, some of them tagged conservative issues are a lot of times just common sense things that in Washington that gets pitched as a conservative.
I was going to say, if you lived in Boston, this might not be good.
That's true. It probably would be different ratings if I were.
One of the interesting things about this country, though, is that you know this is that people they're all over the place when it comes to politics. And you got to figure out where's the middle ground, where's the right ground to go.
And part of that represents. I mean, the intention is the House of Representatives is to represent the people in their district.
Yeah.
So we have people that live in rural areas, and we have people that live in downtown skyscrapers, and obviously the issues that they address on a daily basis are a little different. So we've got to figure out ways to work together.
I ask you this every time, or Moran as well. What are the Kansans saying to you right now? What are the people saying?
Yeah, what we're hearing, two things that are probably the biggest problem. One is finding workers to actually fill jobs out there, and obviously that affects the business community. But the overall comments that we get from people are just a main concern about inflation and what we've seen with all the spending that the federal government's been doing, put all this extra trillions of dollars into the economy, and now prices are up, and they're continuing up. And the administration says, well, yeah, the rate's gone down to 5% increase year over year instead of 9%. But the problem is that's 5% more than it was a year ago. So if you look at in a little over 2 years that President Biden's been in office, prices are over 15% higher than what they were. So that's the equivalent of 2 paychecks a year, 2 monthly paychecks to go to buy the same groceries, the same rent, the same car payment.
Or if you haven't had a raise for 4 or 5 or 6 years, more than that.
You're behind. That's right. And that's what's been happening. People have been falling behind because, yeah, we're getting raises, but the raises aren't as high as the inflation that's coming through.
Right. Listen, we appreciate your time this morning, and be careful out there.
Well, thank you, and
there might be the Democrat behind the bush out there.
Well, people in Kansas are really good, and I'm honored to be able to represent them in the 4th District.
Thank you, sir. That's U.S. Representative Ron Estes with Steve and Ted in the morning here on KNSS.